Welcome on our channel. We are Team Crushing the Meta. You can call me D-Boy. I'm here for you guys yet with another deck profile, and this should be one of the decks that would and could break the meta, the upcoming meta. Well, because so many people would like to play Kagero, and with Dimension Police out there with so many units that restand, especially the Vanguard, um, this deck would be very strong, and I will tell you why. Because of this card and because of another units that make your Vanguard unable to restand even in your opponent turn. So I will show you the deck and the combos or the cards. So first I will go through the strides and then I will go through the deck. It's very easy to explain it from here because this is the best card that you could play. So I play 4 or 3 Machining Destroyer. His skill is you counterblast one card with machining in its card name, and you choose one of your opponent's units and it cannot restand. You do need a heart with machining in its card name, and the counterblast should be in special counterblast. But if you have 4 or more rare guards with machining in their card name, then um, you can also choose one of your opponent's vanguards and it cannot restand. So he is just like your opponent cannot restand a unit and cannot restand their vanguard. It's very strong. Even you can just open up with him, and from there your opponent they have to ride every turn to restand again. But if they don't have another grade 3, then they are stuck, and sometimes they have to guard the grade 3 that they don't want to ride. So that's why you play 3 copies of this guy, or that's why you play this deck, because he's really strong. Your second stride, or for more options to stride, I do play 3 copies of Stun Beetle. So what he does is actually when he attack and the attack hits the Vanguard, you counterblast 2 and then unflip a copy of himself, and your opponent's Vanguard cannot restand, but it also your opponent cannot ride. So your opponent can't do anything on their turn. They can't attack with the Vanguard. Um, Also, this is the GB2 skill, so you need to stride anything else first before you go into him. And your other option to stride first is Poison Spear. Poison Spear skill is when all of your opponent's rearguard is at rest and they have 3 or more rearguards, then you draw a card and this unit get an extra 5k. So he's good to open up with, especially you draw an extra card and you rest all of your opponent's units. Even if they are not at rest, you do rest them. But they need 3 or more rare guards, otherwise you don't get the skill. So playing against Grand Blue or Spike Brothers or any deck that could return units or destroy their own units, or maybe Toskagi, then it's hard to get his skill off. That's why I only play 2 copies of him. And back to Stun Beetle, you only play 3 copies of him, not 4, because his skill is only when he hits. So the first attack, if it does hit, then it's good, you unflip a copy of himself, but you can't really use the third one because it is a Counterblast 2, and this deck doesn't really have option to get the Counterblast back. Only the perfect guard that you have, but otherwise you don't have any others. When we get more strides, so when you have 16 strides, then I would play the 4th Destroyer, the 4th Stun Beetle, maybe one more Spear, and especially Madu. I'll play 1 or 2 Madus because you do play 10k Vanguards in this deck, and I will play 1 Jagged Devil. His skill is when he attack hits, you can choose one of your opponent's Vanguards and can't restand. So he's good to open up with if Spear does nothing. But normally, I think that you would go with Medu, and then you have more space to play the G Guardians, of course. So for the grade 3s, um, in this deck I don't play any Stride Fathers, so that's why I play 9 grade 3s. The first one is Stag Beetle. Stag Beetle is really good because he fill up your field for the stride to use. So when you ride him, you can call up to 2 cards from your soul with the machining in the card name, and they come as a rest. But it doesn't really matter because it's all about the card with machining in its card name and filling up your field. Then he get the power from those units combined, so he could be very strong if you ride him at first. Uh, yeah, but most importantly, he's just there to just fill up your soul. The second grade 3 that I like to run in this deck is War Cycle. I play 4 copies of him. I would maybe take one of him out to add one more Legion in here. So I'm not sure about that yet. I could play 4 of the Legion, or I mean 2 of the Legion and 3 War Cycle. But for now I play 4 War Cycle. The thing about this deck is that sometimes if your opponent knows what you are playing, they don't they will stay and play the grade 2 game until they have a decent hand to ride every turn. That's when this card is very good. What he does is when this unit attacks a Vanguard and the attack doesn't go through, you counter blast 2 and your opponent's Vanguard cannot stand. So that's really good. It's devastating because they have to guard that attack, but sometimes because they don't want to take the damage. But if they do, their finger cannot restand. But if they don't, then they take damage, and you don't need to counter blast too. And his another skill is when you ride him as your finger, you can counterblast one card with machining in his card name, and you can call something from your soul as rest. So with machining in his card name, of course. So he's another card that could just give you the extra rare guard that you want to. And then you have the Legion. The Legion's also good, but the problem with the Legion is that with War Cycle and Stag Beetle, you can use their skill and then stride. But with Scorpion, the Legion, Scorpion MK2, his skill is only when he legions. So the skill of this card is when once per turn, choose a one card from your hand, the same card as one of your Vanguard, so himself or the Legion mate, and then you discard it. Then, if this unit is Legion, choose up to 3 cards from your soul with machining and card name and you call them as rest. So he calls 3 units, which is good. Stag Beetle calls 2 and War Cycle calls only 1. But remember, he needs to Legion to do so. His second skill is you choose one of your rare guards with machining and card name, you put it back into your soul, and you can restand one of your units. Which is good because sometimes all the units that you call come as rest. So using his skill, you can just put this card back into your soul and restand him to get one more attack in there. But yeah, as I said, because he's a Legion, I only play one copy of him, and I only play 9 grade 3s because I don't play any Stride Fathers. And you do need to Stride in this deck. You don't have to, but you do. You do need to. For the grade 2 lineup, I played 4 Mosquito, so the Legion mates, MK2. He's really good. He's one of the best cards in this deck as a rare guard. What he does is when you have a Vanguard with machining and scar name, he get an extra 2k, so he'd be an 11k attacker, which is important. I will show you why in a second. And then when this unit attacks a Vanguard, you can choose one. The attack hits. So when he attacks Vanguard and the attack hits, and you have a machining Vanguard, then you can restand one of your units, and you can choose one of your opponent's units, and it cannot restand. So it gives you an extra attack, and he restand, and one of your opponent's units cannot restand. So very good. Um, Especially that you are pressuring your opponent, and you need to play 4 copies of him if you ever want to get his skill off. And then you play 4 of the 12k attackers. If you have machining in there in your card name as a Vanguard, then you get an extra 3k. Again, I will tell you why you play units that get more power. And last but not least, for the grade 2, as you can see, I only play 10 grade 2s because the grade 1s in this deck are really good. I played 2 machining Papillon. her skill is actually when she's called into a rearguard circle, you can choose one of your opponent's unit and you can stun them so they cannot restand. The good thing about her is normally when you play early game or when you ride her as when you call her as early as you can get, she's only 8k but it's still good because you can stun one of your opponent's units. Yeah, I don't really have that much options if it comes to machining or cards with machining in their card name. So I do still like this card a lot, especially mid game or early game. For the grade 1 lineup, I do play 4 copies of the Unflipper Perfect Guard. I know that, as I said, playing against Kagero or Dimension Police or anything that restands that they hit, still bad because this unit cannot guard the rear guard, but still I do play 4 copies of him because I do need the unflips in this deck, and I have more options to stun my opponent Vanguard, so that's why I'm not very afraid of them to restand. And the options that I have is your promo. This card is really good. I don't really see him much played, but I hope that he would be more played in this format or the upcoming format. What this card does is when you place him on the G guard, so when you guard with him, um, your opponent's Vanguard cannot restand that turn. So let's say they attack you with Draconic Overload at the end. They attack the rear guard because they know that you play him. Then you guard with this card, only with this card. So the attack does go through, and because they break the shield, and you lose the rear guard, but your opponent cannot restand. So playing against Dimension Robos or against anything that restands after hitting the rear guard, um, is this card really good? I only play 3 copies of him because this card doesn't have machining in its card name, and you do need to write a card with machining in its card name to get it back with the other grade 3 skills. So that's why I play. Well, that's why I don't play any Stride Fathers. So I play only machining cards. Now you have this card. This is why I play so many 12k or 11k attackers, because this card is only 6k. What this card does is when the attack hits the Vanguard during the battle that this unit boosts, you can choose one of your opponent's units and it cannot restand. So rear guards and it cannot restand. So very good to just put more pressure on your opponent when they read uh, when they read him. Let's say you have Mosquito boosted by this card, you attack with it, they read his skill and they say, oh, okay, so you can stun one of my rear guards and you can restand anything. You say yes. So when the attack hits, you can stun 2 of their units. And sometimes you don't have him, but you have the normally or the normal 12k attacker. When you attack with them, he doesn't have any skill, but it's all because he get the power. You make the right numbers, the right columns for this attack to still do some damage and stun your opponent's unit. So, but you can play anything else with machining in Scar name. You can even play the limit break enabler if you want to. I like him. I like to play him more, just to put more pressure on your opponent. Also, he's good mid game and early game because anything that he boosts when it hits, you can get the skill. Then I play the 10k attacker. Why? Because you do play only 10 grade 2s. So if you ask me why don't you take one copy of him out to play one more grade 2, it's because I don't want to. Because you do need to write a grade 1 machining in his card name, so that's why you play him at 3. For the trigger lineup, you start up with 4 heal, because you do go into late game and it's another way to countercharge. And also G Guardians. Playing for crit with the skill, their skill is you can count +1 when this unit is placed on the rear guard. If you have Vanguard machining in his card name, you can play the cost, which is count +1. and you can choose one of your rearguard, you restand it, and choose one of your opponent's rearguard, and it cannot restand. So sometimes you have the units, as I said, you call them as rest, you call this card, you counterblast one, and then you can restand that unit. So when he's at rest, you can restand it so it can attack again, and one of your opponent's units cannot restand. So very good, decent skill, I would say. It does cost a counterblast, and it's only when you place him, but still, it's very good because you still have him on the field and he's a machining. Then you play 4 more normal machining crits because you need the cards with machining in card name, and you don't have any skill that give you an extra crit like Same Blow or Gilded Ray or anything that kills in this deck, so that's why you need to play more crits. Also, I do like to play 4 draw triggers. I think most people would disagree with me on playing draw triggers, but I do like them a lot. You can also play the stand trigger, which is very good. You have a machine stand trigger, and you have a stand trigger with GB1 skill, which is very good. It goes back into the deck, and you can draw 2 cards, which is really good. But I like these draw triggers. Also, they are machining in their card name, so that's why I play 4 of them. And your starter is still the one and only Little B. Her skill is she goes into the soul, which is good. Because you can call her back if you want to, and then you can choose one of your another units with machining and card name, and you stand it. So when you have a unit at rest, you restand that unit, and it gets an extra 3k. So it's still very good. You can make a very strong attack. With your 12k attacker, it would be 15k boosted by a 7k. Still make a very strong attack. Otherwise, you don't really have another starter to choose from with machining and scar name. But normally, I would just leave her on the field to boost with her because that's still very good. So yeah, this was the deck profile. I'm still expecting this deck to do so well in the upcoming formats. If you want me to do a deck profile on Darkface, I still have that deck. But I think that this deck is more consistent than that because in Darkface, you play the Legion, you play it with Darkface. With the Legion, your opponent cannot restand their Vanguard, and with Darkface, it's really effective against Aqua Force, against Piperless. But still, with Strides, this deck is not as good as Machining, because with Machining, you have Machining Destroyer, and that's your strongest card. And with this deck, you do really have a problem with Counterblast, because you can't really use your Tag Beetle or your Stun Beetle, your Stride. Because using your Stun Beetle, you need to Counterblast 2, and using his skill, you need to Counterblast 1, and another unit calls all has the Counterblast. So it's very Counterblast heavy deck, and I'm still trying to find the balance in this deck. But for now, I'm playing Machinings, and I'm still leaving this deck for later. What is very good about this deck is you can make a very strong columns, uh, especially using these 2 cards. Otherwise, I'll still go with Machining. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and until next time.